What's going on? I'm Marcus, and you're at the channel of the Debt Free Dad, where we're following my family's road to financial freedom and we're learning a little bit about finance along the way. In today's video, I'm going to talk about why I don't plan on paying off my mortgage to my residential home early. We're going to dive into that. As always, before I start this video, I got to give a quick disclaimer. One, I am a licensed attorney. Two, I'm not your attorney. So if you are looking for legal or finance advice, go somewhere else. Don't come here with that ish. Go somewhere else. I would recommend you seek a professional in your local area to help you. But if for some reason you hard headed and you want to come to me for any type of advice of a legal nature, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sit there and let you explain your entire situation because you didn't listen to this disclaimer. Then after you explain your, I'm gonna listen attentively. I'm gonna look and be like, really? I can't believe they did that. How that made you feel? Get out of here. That don't make no sense. Then after you spend your entire time telling me your entire situation and all of your business, I'ma lean back in my chair. I'ma cross my hands like this, as if I'm thinking about it. Then I'm gonna lean forward and look you in the eyes and say, "Well, sorry, I can't help you with that, but you need to talk to an attorney because there's nothing I can do. But I appreciate you telling me all your business because, hey, if you want to tell me your business, I'm all here to listen and be nosy." So that's what's going to happen. So I would advise you definitely don't come here for no legal or no financial advice. Now, let's dive in. Why do I not want to pay off my residential mortgage early? Well, the quick and easy. I don't want to pay it off early because that's not in the game plan. That's not what I want to do. As always, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all take care. Peace. Nah, seriously. On a serious note, I'm gonna talk about several reasons why I don't plan on paying it off early. Give you an example of how I envision my situation as I move towards retirement or whatever I deem as retirement many moons from now. And then we'll just talk about it and y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Essentially, the first two reasons are that what I pay for my mortgage, my homeowner's insurance, my taxes, even though they made a mistake, but typically my taxes, it accounts for a small portion of my gross income, under 10%. So considering that, um, it's a good opportunity for me to use any additional money to do something else with, to put it in another vehicle that can make me more potential returns or greater returns in the long run, like the stock market or investing in real estate or what have you. All right, so that's number one. It doesn't account for a large percentage of my gross income. Number two, essentially, when you think about it, my interest rate on my mortgage is 2.2%. It's really low. To have a 2.2% mortgage on an appreciating asset is a big benefit. But like I said, the additional money that I could use to pay the mortgage down faster, again, I think it will be better served into other vehicles where I can make a potential greater profit in the long run. So let's talk a little bit about, or I'll give you a fact pattern, a little example. Let's say, well, it's not even a fact, well, it is a fact pattern. I've been in my house for 5 years in my residential property. Okay. Let's say if I want to retire in 20 years. Okay. Now I have two options. I can, option A would be pay off my residential property faster, which mathematically is probably the best choice, but this isn't a math equation for me. It's more of a comfort equation. It's more of a I have my goals in mind, so I think I have a plan that will get me to my goals. So mathematically, it may be advantageous to expedite and speed up the process of me paying off my mortgage. But again, been in my property for 5 years. I want to retire in 20 years. I think that I am better served during that 20-year period to acquire and pay off as many rental properties as I can. Now, let me explain a little bit why. Okay, the reason I want to do that is because I have a goal. At the time that I hang it up and retire, I want to have $5,000 a month coming in from rental proceeds. That's not counting my 401k. That's not counting my Roth or any other investment vehicle. That's solely from retirement, solely from my investment properties. Every month, like clockwork, I want to get $5,000 coming in. When I'm an old school guy and I'm retired. So here's where my line of thinking comes in, okay? Because the first question that a lot of people ask is, well, why is it more important for you to pay off the rental property as opposed for you to paying off the residential property? Remember, it's not a math thing because mathematically, an amortization chart and all that stuff, it probably saved me more money in the long run to pay off the primary residence. But here is my line of thinking. Okay, most people, unless you're investing in commercial real estate, most people, when they get rental properties, especially if it's a single family home, that property is significantly less than what their primary residence is. You're not going to live in a $300,000 house and get a $500,000 rental property unless you invest in commercial real estate. So that's kind of how most people play out. So with that in consideration, the 20 years I have before I decide to hang it up, if I decide to hang it up, if I make it to decide to hang it up, for that 20-year period, my focus is going to be on acquiring and paying off as many rental properties as I can because I want to be in a position to create $5,000 a month in rental proceeds. Now, a lot of people, again, like I said, why pay off the rental properties and not the primary residence? Because as someone who had rental properties before, I had properties that didn't have a mortgage on it, I had a property that had a mortgage on it. My goal is to create $5,000 in rental income. I would much rather do that with 4 rental units that are paid for versus 8 or 9 units that have a mortgage attached. Now, I know that leads y'all to the next question. Well, you can leverage debt and buy your property and acquire more property to have significant, much more cash flow coming in. Plus, I get the appreciation of the property. And that's true. You can leverage debt. So, in theory, instead of paying for 4 or 5 rental properties over a 20-year period, I could potentially have 10 to 15 rental properties over a 20-year period and just have mortgages on those properties. But again, retirement is different from everybody and what they want to do versus what you want to do. As for me, I'm not trying to be a real estate mogul. I'm not trying to have 75 doors. From trial and error, I find that it's easier and less stressful to create $5,000 from 4 properties that are paid off versus creating $5,000 from 8 or 9 properties that have mortgages attached. In addition, not having a mortgage just gives me a peace of mind. That's something that I want. And considering I'm not trying to be a real estate mogul, I don't have a concern or really care about having 65 doors or 15 doors. For me, it's not the amount of doors that is important, is the amount of rental income that comes in that I get to have cash to hand that is most important. And so I think the other thing that you have to consider, and this is just kind of when we talk about retirement as a whole, everybody has a plan and everybody's plan is going to be different. I've met people who retired in their early 40s and somewhere on a beach or living overseas and traveling. I've met people who retired in their 30s, early 40s, who are in an RV traveling the US, enjoying life with their spouse. And those are great visions and great retirements for people, but that's not what the hell I want. For retirement, if I'm in an RV, is because I'm running from the law, or I'm in an RV by choice because I really don't want to be. So you have to understand and know what it is that you want, what your expectations are for your expenses. And so let's think about it. That scenario I gave where I'm in my property for 5 years, a 20-year period go by. During the course of that 20-year period, I purchase and pay off 4 rental properties. And let's say at the end of that 20-year period, I have these paid for rental properties and I am creating $5,000 a month in rental income from 4 properties that are paid for outright. Now I have a little bit of options because at this point, I would only have 5 years remaining to pay off my residential mortgage. So I'm in a position where I can use that $5,000 to satisfy that obligation every month, and or if I don't want to do that, another alternative, I could sell one of those properties, pay off my primary residence outright, and have my primary residence in 3 paid off properties. Or another alternative that I could potentially use would be to, hey, keep the 4 rental properties that are paid off, sell my residential property, and buy something that I want for retirement, someplace warm with maybe a doorman and no lawn and no grass to cut, and I don't have to listen to sirens all the time, and maybe a nice chill area on the roof with me and my old ass neighbors, because I'm gonna be old as hell too. We can all have ice cream socials and just chill and have a good time. So it really depends, but I do think that that gives options. That's the plan that works for me. You know, I got into this discussion. Check out his channel, is Finance ABC. He had a really good channel, and he and I were kind of talking about this comment. We were talking about this concept in the comments, and it's funny because his questions was like, "Well, why pay off one versus the other?" And I ended up telling him the same thing I'm telling you. It's not about a math problem for me because if we took math into consideration, a lot of us should have hit their financial goals way earlier than what they actually have or will be hitting those goals. So it's not about the math for me. It's about me setting up a goal. This is what I want in retirement. This is the smartest with the least amount of risk path that I'm comfortable with taking to get that goal. Like I said, I don't want to have 10 properties with 10 mortgages and I'm 60 years old. And yeah, I'm getting this cash flow, but I still got the mortgage obligations out there outstanding. Nah, it's not that. For me, I don't want to be a mogul. I want to be comfortable, and I can be comfortable once I meet my rental income per month goal that I had planned for retirement. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that plan. If you all got a house, do y'all plan on paying it off early? If you are paying your house off early, or if you have a house and rental property, what was your determining factor in either deciding, do I pay off the house first or do I pay off the rental property first? Me, I think it makes more sense for what I want to do to acquire the rental properties and pay them off during the period of time that's passing before I get to retirement. But let me know what y'all think. As always, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all take care. Have a good weekend. Be blessed. Peace. Yo, if you're still tuning into this video, check out the videos on the screen. Follow along. Check out our debt-free journey where we're talking about finance. And if you haven't, hit that circle all the way on the right of the screen. Subscribe to the channel so you can get more content related to finance and our debt-free journey. Paying off these damn student loans.